Well, down in Blacksburg, Virginia, the Hokies are proving the age-old adage, the rich get richer, to be very, very true. Virginia Tech has just picked up a commitment from a star edge rusher in the portal, and we're going to talk about what that means for the Hokies and about this class that James Franklin is assembling. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ACC Uprising. My name is Grant Mitchell, and I appreciate y'all rocking out with us here on the channel. In this video, we got a big one to talk about as the Virginia Tech recruiting class, or transfer class. As impressive as it is, it just keeps getting better and better. And man, the Hokies look like they're on their way from being 0 to hero. Coming off a 3-9 season, James Franklin is doing a masterful job of commanding the transfer portal. That includes the latest news that Baylor edge Kamauryn Morgan will be playing his football in the maroon and orange next season. So in this video, we're going to jump into that, but here at ACC Uprising, we are committed to bringing you the best news from around the conference for every single school. So whether you are a fan of Virginia Tech, you support Duke, Clemson, Miami, doesn't matter, this is a place for you. So make sure that you subscribe if you are new around here. And Hokies fans, let me get a little temp check. How we feeling? The portal, the class just keeps growing and growing. James Franklin, he always says it. College football, this profession, this industry, it's about relationships. Can't tell you how many times I've heard him say that. And watching him maneuver up close and personal, having seen the work he did at Penn State, of course, and Vanderbilt, but now seeing it play out before he's even stepped out on the field at Virginia Tech, you're seeing that manifest itself. Virginia Tech, according to On3, is up to number 5 in the entire country in portal class rankings. Indiana is number 2, I believe, and there's a chance they fall out of the top 5 after their playoff run comes to an end. And by the way, what a ridiculous playoff run it is. Blow the doors off of Alabama. They didn't even belong on the same field. Blow the doors off of Oregon, making Dan Lanning look totally unprepared. One of the best coaches in America, in my opinion, Dan Lanning, made him look like it was JV versus varsity out there with what Coach Sig is doing. But Indiana, when their playoff run does come to an end, you assume some of their players are going to hop in the transfer portal. That class ranking they have would go down. So Virginia Tech, maybe moving up to number 4, even higher than that, depending on what happens in the rest of the portal. But even right now, top 5 class in America, the Hokies never would have imagined they would have been in that position even just 2 or 3 months ago prior to the Franklin hiring. So huge congratulations to the Hokies fans. And let's talk about this new player, Kamauryn Morgan. As I mentioned, he's making his way over from Baylor. 6'5", 251 pounds. He was a 4-star transfer recruit, and he is a transfer prospect at that. And he was the 15th ranked edge rusher in the portal, according to 247 Sports. Coming out of high school, he was the 307th prospect in America and the 32nd ranked edge rusher in the class of 2025. Now again, according to 247, he gained more than 20 pounds and grew an inch as a freshman at Baylor. So clearly he is still developing physically. And that's a pretty big deal. I mean, you're getting a kid at 6'5", 250 and he's still growing. How much more does he have in him? Of course, getting to a college program in the weight room is going to help out. But if this kid grows to be 6'6", 6'7", he's 270, 280, that sounds pretty dangerous. So again, you're not just betting on the talent, you're betting on the physical profile and the potential, and that could prove to be something. It could be prove to be a stroke of genius if it pans out. Now, he barely played last year at Baylor, only totaled 5 tackles in 5 games, but he does come to Blacksburg with that first year of college experience under his belt, which means he knows what it's like to transition from playing high school football to getting in the weight room, to going to study halls, to meeting academic requirements, to having coaches and position meetings, to being on the practice field. He's seen the change in lifestyle, so that's going to be good for his development at Virginia Tech. You're not going to have to worry about those road bumps. You're going to get right past them, and it's going to be all business on the football field. Before we go anywhere else in this video, let's take a moment to acknowledge how James Franklin is building the trenches. Virginia Tech has now secured transfers from 3 defensive linemen / edge players. Daniel Jennings from Penn State, once an edge rusher, looks like he maybe will be playing defensive tackle. Javion Hilson from Missouri, and now Morgan, who comes over from Baylor. When looking at these players, these are not just bodies. These are not just guys with a pulse. Jennings was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school and the #1 player in all of West Virginia in the class of 2025. Hilson, considered a 5-star by some outlets, was the number 46 player and the number 4 edge in the country, according to 247's composite rankings, and he was also in the class of 2025. So what James Franklin is doing here, And this is why I think it's so smart. He's making a big play and a big investment here, and it's something that is going to not just be for the short term, but the long term. You look at Virginia Tech's entire portal so far. They've only got one commitment from a player with just 1 year of eligibility left. That's Jaquez White, who might be their number one cornerback. Makes sense. He's coming in to play a priority position. He's coming in to start right away and make an impact. Okay, 1 year of eligibility. Other than that, there's been a push to get young, high potential players who he had relationships with or who he thinks he can mold. That's the big thing here, and that's the antithesis of what's going on at a lot of schools. I was talking about Signidium a moment ago. Indiana is the best example of this. Everybody's 1 year transfer guys. We're bringing in the oldest class we can. Players are 23, 24 years old. We're going out and we're trying to win right now. You know, James Franklin is a program builder. He is a very smart guy. And as much as everybody down in Blacksburg would love it if their team would turn around and win a national championship like Indiana might be on the cusp of doing, this is still Indiana's second year. Making that transition in 1 year would be nearly impossible. It should be impossible what Indiana's doing right now, and that's year two. Year one, you don't just go out there and find all the 24, 25-year-olds and say, hey, money's on the table, you're only here for 1 year, let's go win a national championship. You have to establish the pillars of your identity, of your program. You have to have some continuity. You have to build your system. You have to repair the relationships with the high schools. You have to figure out how you're going to allocate your money. James Franklin has talked about putting more money into the portal this first time around. Then there's going to be more money going into high school recruiting. So you've got to do all of these things. And what James Franklin has done is he has identified, again, these young, talented, high potential players and said, okay, I want you to come play football for me this year, but I also want you to play football for me the year after that. And maybe just the year after that as well. And we're going to build. So by the time that I'm in year 3, year 4, and that's around the time that I am hoping I'll be able to go into the portal and start picking out the mercenaries, the top guys on the market, well, I'm going to have the infrastructure of these high potential players who, if they fulfill that potential, will be at their best. Oh, but they've been here for 2 to 3 years, so they know me, we have a relationship, they know the staff, they know the style of offense, the style of defense that we're going to run, they have the connection with the fans. Everything is in place so that when you get to that 2, 3, 4 year down the road spot, you are ready to attack it. I think that's very smart. It's a very smart idea by James Franklin, and I've been impressed by some of the reflection that he seems to have done. He's talked about the differences and things he wants to do moving to Virginia Tech from Penn State. One of the things he talked about was, look, warm weather, we're going to have some more of it, a little bit less cold weather. Not that it can't get cold down there. We know it can, but not going to get as much snow as you would up there at Penn State. So he said he's going to come down here. He obviously wants to build the trenches, but maybe we're going to put a little bit more of a focus on receivers and running backs, and maybe we're going to run a spread offense, go empty, air it out with the quarterback. So he's thought about these things. And I think I just have to assume in that thought process, he said, okay, why don't I just go for these high potential guys and let me develop them? And that fits well with the defensive coordinator, who, of course, Virginia Tech fans know very well, Brent Pry. Looking at Franklin racking up these edge rushers and these defensive linemen, well, Brent Pry, when he was Franklin's defensive coordinator, Penn State always wreaked havoc on that side of the football. That's a big part of what got him hired at Virginia Tech, is how good of a job the Penn State defense was doing. You know, even as early Virginia Tech teams, they were able to get to the quarterback. Now you add in the great coaching from Coach Chaos, Sean Spencer, one of the top defensive line coaches in the country. I mean, when Spencer was with Franklin at Penn State in 18 and 19, they were 4th and 21st in sack percentage. Just finished up working the year with Texas A&M. They led the country in sack percentage. So don't get me wrong, there is a need for veterans with experience. That strategy will need to evolve over time. But right now, this is perfect. You establish stability and continuity with your core group of players, but it's players that have very, very high potential. And 2 to 3 years down the line, what you're looking around right now, you see seniors, redshirt seniors, who are the number 2 player at their position in the portal. These players that Virginia Tech is bringing in right now, they would normally be those guys in a couple of years, but the difference is you're trying to keep them within the program and build from within. So I think this is just very smart, very exciting as well. I mean, let's not forget to talk about the talent these kids have. Morgan, Hilson, Jennings, young and exciting players. So if James Franklin can keep true to his promise of landing the right quarterback, obviously they've been very, very strongly linked to Ethan Grunkemeyer and Bryce Baker. We're still waiting on those to be confirmed, but it seems like at least one of them, if not both of them, is going to get over the line. So you got your quarterbacks there. You're working on some wide receivers. You're building the trenches. We've already seen they've got a bunch of dudes with size, and now they're adding the edge rushers, the impactful players. In the NFL standards, by NFL standards, probably the second most impactful players, because the quarterbacks make the most money, and then it's the edge rushers. So I'm excited to see what Virginia Tech is going to pull off here by the time the portal closes. But let me know your thoughts. That's why we're making these videos here at ACC Uprising. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, and thank you for rocking out at ACC Uprising.